All right, hey everybody. Thanks for tuning in to All Things Division 3 Soccer with Simple Coach and Jackie. I am Simple Coach, and that there is Jackie, who was just awake, but no, not anymore. So really excited for this. I'm sure you could all sort of feel it, and you're sort of getting into the rhythm of the 2022 season. The first games are about to begin. Obviously, the big one that sort of everyone has to have on their radar if they're just a fan of the game is the Washington and Lee Messiah game that happens on September 1st down at Washington and Lee. What a cracker of a game, right? And on the one hand, you're going to have Washington and Lee showing why they deserve the the accolades that they have, and Messiah looking for some revenge for that 3-1 loss in the regional finals, I think, last year to Washington and Lee. So little bit of stuff going on already, and we, like I said, it's day one. So. But for this episode, I really wanted to, and ahead of the season, I really wanted to take a look at those players who I think are outstanding in their own right, and had and can have a huge impact on their teams. And I would say even these are the guys that shoulder the teams. But because I can't keep things simple, as in my name, no, I had to sort of mix it up a little bit. So I made some rules to this. There's two categories. There's, these are players to watch, which are all outstanding players in their own right. And then there's the best 11. First of all, the best 11, well, I don't count so good. So it's actually best 17. I sort of got carried away. The best 11 are the pinnacle guys. Like, these are the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. And then the players to watch is that second pool of players that, who knows, by the end of the season, they might be the best 11. They're very capable of being so. Second in the best 11, just because I can, I only wanted to have one player represent a school. So, as you probably are aware, that's not so easy, and can be really difficult at times, because we know of the programs that you could easily pick 5 players from their roster and say these are the best 11. I mean, it's not that hard to do, but I decided, no, there's only one player per school represented. Players to watch can be, a second player from a particular school, but no school gets represented more than twice. Again, just because I could, and because I think there's such a wealth of great players out there at the Division III level. Third, had to have watched them last year. So there's probably players I missed. I'm not discounting that. And for guys who are watching this, if I didn't see you, although I probably know of you, I didn't include you in this list because I didn't want to take someone else's word for it. And there's players who I know are very good that just don't do it for me. So I just thought, my requirement, again, like I did with the season-ending best 11, I had to watch. I had to see them. Either in at least one game. So keep that in mind. All of these players, the best 11 and the players to watch are all guys that I had seen before. Fourth, right? I may have missed some other players who, for whatever reason, are now super seniors. So I did my best to figure out who was available and who wasn't. In some cases, their in some cases their rosters aren't out. So that just made it difficult. And so I I did what I could. If I missed some there, that too. My apologies. But I just sort of gathered it as best I can. In fact, in a couple cases, I actually hunted and found out that one was returning, one was not. My original best 11, one player I thought was returning, but another one I found out all of a sudden that he was. So he's on the list. And then probably the last rule is, to me, they're categorized in best 11 and players to watch. Those are two categories. Best 11 are the best of the best, like I said, and the players to watch is sort of that next one that maybe in the course of the season they become the best of 11. But ultimately, my thinking was each player, conditions have to be right, obviously, but I was like, I want each of these players to be able to say, hey, I could be the Division III National Player of the Year. And so that was sort of my thinking, like, dude, in some cases it was maybe a little bit more of a stretch than others. We know that selection is really narrow in terms of players that you look at. But I was kind of like, hey, you have a banger of a season. Can you sort of be part of that conversation? So that was sort of the final one of my rules. With that, let's get to the players to watch. And so yeah, let's do this. So first up are the players to watch, and like I'll say it over again. And you can make a case, and I could even make the case to myself that all of these players deserve to be on the best 11. In fact, I could even have just made one list, and they would have all qualified in my book in that. I just complicated coach when I come to doing these sorts of things, and I'll try to explain why they're not, like why I don't think they are on. Some are legit, some are just not, because somebody I chose was on the best 11 is on their team, and again, sort of my crazy rules. I'll try to explain that. Some are legit, like I don't think they wouldn't necessarily qualify for best 11 unless they have a banger of a season this year, which they could totally have, right? Like it's legit that these guys are good, and in a couple cases it's, man, can you do that next thing, that next level thing? I think it would be huge. And like I said, we could agree or disagree in terms of some of these guys, but just trying to figure out ways to highlight them and definitely catch them. And then I would just say very broadly, whether it's these players to watch or the best 11. When somebody says Division III is lesser, is not as good, and sort of comes up with the same garbage about how it's Division I or bust because Division III is so much below the standard. I would challenge them to look at any of these guys, and in some cases legitimately, in a lot of, probably most cases, you could argue that there would have been a Division I team that could have used them. And this, to me, these guys are shining examples of what Division III soccer has become, because they're all, to one degree or another, and this is my choice and why I chose them, they're all excellent with the ball, excellent in their position, have a creativity and a mind for the game that is like every talented player out there that I enjoy watching. So, so with that, let's begin. Let's begin and go towards our first player, who is arguably one of my favorite. I've been saying, and I don't know if this, I mean, again, just watching the video, I think he was the linchpin to their success last year. And because he was so successful last year as a defender slash defensive mid when he stepped up, and Connecticut College won the national championship in part because of Steve Jonas, who I think is an outstanding ball player. And again, sort of carried that team, Connecticut College, to the final and the success in the final. Why it wasn't he best 11? Because, and I'm so like him. The other player who, I think was largely responsible for the success of Connecticut College just so happened to be the best 11. So, you could switch the two. I'm perfectly fine with. So, next up, I think arguably the best left wing in Division III soccer, at least it was last year. I'm assuming he's going to be again this year, is Josiah Crawford at Montclair State. There are very few defenders that can go man for man against him. He is so talented on the ball. He's got a quickness to him, and he has a creativity to him that makes it very, very difficult to defend him. I would say he's probably the most disruptive left wing in Division III soccer, and really a huge fan of his. He was, second team All-American, NJAC awards. He even got 5 goals, 6 assists. Why not the best 11? He could have easily been, but a teammate of his, just largely because of the work Josiah does on the left, was a beneficiary of that. Is, I think, even just an outstanding ball player. So I chose him to be on the best 11. So, and we'll talk about that. Next up, probably one of my favorite players to watch, just because I see creativity with the ball. He's got a heads up, sees a lot of the game, very capable, great on the dribble. He's really good on set plays as well. Pretty lethal at the PK spot. I mean, he ticks all the boxes for me. He's landmark offensive player of the year, and I think he could repeat, as he is he'll be an offensive threat, and I would say most of the production will definitely come through him for Catholic University. And that's, again, like I said, whether on the dribble or on set plays. And why is he not on the best 11? This one, I think, is a team thing. I'm just not sure he has the supporting cast to help him. I think there's, unless something changes in the incoming freshman class, I think there's only, he only has a couple guys who help him in that role. And I also think the way Catholic plays, it's pretty rigid and doesn't give him the freedom that I think a player like him would really do well in. So, yeah. All right, next up, Victor Gallman of St. Olaf College, first team All-American on an already stacked St. Olaf team that, midfield general, just, I think he was largely responsible for, getting, the success that St. Olaf had last year, and I think will be critical again this year. First team All-American, like I mentioned, and why not on the best 11? Because that St. Olaf team is stacked, and I think definitely has the ability to go the distance. And I'm going to surprise you all with some takes at the end of this video that you'll see and why I say that. So, Yeah, very, very good. Luke Rudolph, arguably, and from what I've heard, he's considered the best midfielder at Messiah, which says a lot. Unfortunately, last year, I think his season was cut short due to an injury to his knee and sort of missed the playoffs, I think. I think he only played like 12 or 13 games. I think if he's healthy, he can really lead Messiah in a way that they sort of lacked last year. I think that games were too close because I think he is sort of like that pivot guy that, like, if he's on, Messiah becomes like you're not going to get the ball. So why not the best 11? First, the season was cut short, and then he's got a teammate. That's all I'll say. Like, they're so good. And there were other guys that could. I mean, I'm a big fan of Matt McDonald on the wing. That guy, he's a bald-headed genius. Love watching him play. And there was so many guys that I was like, yeah, I could have, but I just, again, just picking the guys who I think make the most sense at this time. So, all right, I'm a real big fan of this guy, Ethan Miracle at Denison University. Outstanding forward, I think shouldered a bit of Denison's successes, and probably the reason why I really chose him is because of his performance in the NCAC final against Kenyan, where Denison won 1-0. He basically, for the team, played deep in the middle to cover probably the best player in the country at his position and shut him down. And he was so good. And I thought a player that can attack, but also do things to support his team, definitely deserving. And I think if he can increase his production, he would definitely be a case for best 11. I just don't think he's necessarily there yet. I do think there's probably another player just because of the responsibility from Denison that I think will be critical. So, okay, next up, love this guy, Christian Gomez at Ohio Wesleyan. Tremendous midfield general on a great Ohio Wesleyan team. I think he's going to, with Hector Gomez gone, he is going to be shouldering a lot of that responsibility this year. And I think whatever successes are going to come down to what kind of season he has. Why wasn't he best 11? He's already on a team of outstanding players, including one that was best 11. And we'll talk about him a little bit later. For anyone who watches the game, when you're looking for guys who stand out for their soccer and may have certain attributes that you're like, there's no way he's going to survive on the field, like his height and size. It's not the biggest of guys. I'd almost say when you look at the video, like maybe 5'7" is generous. That's the way it looks like. But Gerardo Martinez of Kenyan College could conceivably, maybe not next year, but maybe his senior year could be the Division III player of the year. He is that good. His game against Messiah was a clinic of generaling a midfield and a team on the attack. And Kenyan came really close to beating Messiah in that NCAA tournament game. So, big fan. Again, why isn't he on the best 11? He has a teammate that's the best player in the country in his position. And that's legit. That one, I would probably say, can the two interchange? Yeah, but the likelihood right now for me is that it wouldn't. I would definitely make the case for his teammate to be best 11 and Gerard to be a player to watch. But once the best 11 player graduates, if he has a banger year again, next year he's best 11. Like that's the way I see it. So, okay. Last one who I'm gonna rank in this group, and is Griffin Wada at the University of Chicago. First team All American, Defensive Player of the Year for the UAA. Outstanding ball player. One of a pair of defenders that probably makes the University of Chicago backline the best in the country. And he's a first team All American. And why wasn't he there? Because he's one of a pair. That I just chose his another Chicago defender to be in the best 11. So could you make a case like, the defensive player of the year belongs in the best 11 versus sure, most definitely, but there's some things that I just thought, oh well, this is why I would go with the other guy. So, and we'll touch upon those because that's what we're doing next, best 11. So I hope you like these players to watch. I mean, again, if you're just looking for, hey, who are some guys to follow and sort of, I want to look at, see how a certain position plays. These guys, you won't go wrong. I mean, they're stellar ball players in their own right. So, all right, let's move on to the best 11. All right, so let's move on to the best 11, who, like I mentioned, I don't count so good. So they're not 11. I think they're 17. Yeah, 17 players. And as I mentioned and reiterated again, I could have made just one list. So the players to watch in the best 11. I could have just made these are the guys. But, I simple coached it and made it complicated. So by and large, definitely this group, majority of the players who I think on the players to watch, these guys are, I think, the division, unless somebody comes out by storm, it's totally possible, especially with the transfer market the way it is, or transfer market, the transfer portal, and that who knows who's landing where. Some kid from North Carolina could transfer to somewhere and just be like the bomb. I just don't know. But if I were a betting man today, your Division III national player of the year will come from these guys, very clearly. So let's move on. Let's move on to our first player. Going with the goalkeeper, who I just think is outstanding. I mean, a 6'3" monster in goal. I think he's probably, that I've seen, the most consistent goalkeeper able to control his box. Like, floated balls are going to get snatched up by him because he's fearless coming off his line, and I think that's really, really good. And I think, look, Middlebury's a good team. Don't take me wrong, but it becomes a very good team with him in goal, and still young. And the junior year is generally, the best year for ball players for a whole host of reasons, I think. And I just think he is going to, he's gonna light it up. So, he's the D3 Goalkeeper of the Year, D3Soccer.com, first team All-American. There's not enough that I could say. I'm sure there's other goalkeepers out there. There obviously are. But I just loved watching this guy. Such a presence. So, all right. Next up. Possibly this guy is probably one of my favorites. And again, a large part of Tufts' success. And listen, Tufts had, and as everyone knows, I think probably some of the best Division III soccer players ever to graduate last year. So a lot's going to be on his shoulders this year. But I couldn't do a best 11 without including Ian Daly, who I also hear is just one heck of a gentleman. So Division III soccer, second team All-American, is a real anchor in Tufts' defensive posture. But what really sort of differentiates him is his ability to get forward. And I think that's going to be a key component. And if you're not watching him defensively as Tufts is attacking, he's going to eat you alive. So, okay. Next up, another one of my favorites. And again, I even think he can be better, right? Is Marvin Sabanda at St. Lawrence University. And Coach Toshak and I talked about Marvin, and he's of the opinion like this year could even be better than last. And is that he is a skillful, speedy, and has a tremendous control of the ball. So Liberty Conference Player of the Year, and he was second team All-American. And I think, again, I think it's going to contingent upon how St. Lawrence does as a whole, but I think his talents alone will help it move forward. So next up, another gem of a player who just totally rocked it his freshman year, or his first year, however we call it now, freshman year, whatever. Michael Meese at Trinity University in Tejas. First team All-American. I mean, the kid scored 16 goals for Trinity on a very good Trinity team, and I think his sophomore year can be better. And I think Trinity is sort of and you'll see at the end, has the capability of going pretty far. And I think it's largely rests on what he's able to do from a goal production standpoint. I only think this guy gets better. So, okay, next up, Augie Durdash. I can never say that. I'm sorry. Sorry, Augie. At Connecticut College, first team All-American. Augie's the engine for Connecticut, and him and Steve Jonas, who was player to watch, really put the team on their shoulders, and I think a large part of their success came down to these guys, down to Augie. And I think just as a midfielder and his ability to get forward and what he did, I just think if he has a repeat performance, I think they have a chance to get back to the big dance. So, just a fantastic ball player. And I met him once, probably doesn't remember, and came across as an outstanding individual. So, okay, next up, Washington and Lee's Michael Kutzenzero, who I think had a kind of quiet season, outstanding ball player, but then the tournament, and it was like a new life and just sort of lit it up. Second team All-American. He is just a very strong, difficult player to deal with defensively. And I think, I do think he has the ability to really sort of take it to the next level this year on an outstanding Washington and Lee team who we'll talk about a little bit later. And I think he's going to be he's going to be a large part of a very big component, necessary component to Washington and Lee's performance. Okay, so why is Josiah Crawford not on the best 11? Because all the work he does helps to a certain degree who I think is a best 11 player, is Amir Lukovic at Montclair State. This guy is probably, I think, the all-around best center forward in Division III soccer, hands down. He is All-American, second-team All-American, 17 goals in 2021. He is fantastic on the run, on set pieces. He's lethal in front of the box. He is a great, great target man who holds up the ball well. And I think between Josiah Crawford on the left and Amir Lukovic on the right, or in the center, you could argue that that's one of the, if not the best pairing in Division III soccer. I would say, if you remember the NCAA game where Montclair actually lost to Washington College in the NCAA tournament, Washington College basically boxed Amir Lukovic and had 4 guys within 5 yards max around him. Anytime he touched the ball, he was swarmed. And that was the only way to keep him at bay. And if he's given any liberty, like, he'll eat you alive. So big fan of his. And he was only a freshman. So this year he's going to be a sophomore. And I think he's only going to get better on an outstanding Montclair team. They could easily, I think, really go the distance if they, do a few things, but they definitely have the talent. So next up, and why, why is Victor Gallman not on the best 11? Well, because they have, St. Olaf has this outstanding forward in Hakeem Morgan, second team All-American, 15 goals, 9 assists. He is a linchpin in the St. Olaf attack, and speed, ability with the ball. He can get around defenders pretty easily, and if they're going to advance very far, it's going to be, I think it's going to come down to how much he can destabilize. I don't know if that's right. The opponent's defense, and I think he's got some room to grow, but he is just an outstanding ball player. Okay, and now why is Christian Gomez not in the best 11? Well, that's because Yager Brooker of Ohio Wesleyan, I thought, was probably a little bit more deserving. If only for his long golden locks. I'm going to say, now that Jared the Mullet Pavlovich from Messiah University has graduated, I am going to crown Yager Golden Locks Brooker with, at least in the picture, the best hair in Division III soccer. And beyond that, he's a third-team All-American. He was the NCAC Offensive Player of the Year. He is tremendous on the attack, pace, position, and he has something innate. Like, you could just see a desire to get to goal. And between him and Christian Gomez, I think Ohio Wesleyan, if they mature a little bit, they could prove to be a force to beat. And I think the only part that's a question is, the presence of Hector Gomez, who graduated the first team All-American, one of the best of all time in Division III. I just think that's like a little question, but I think, talking to Jay Martin, the head men's coach, during the preview, he's really confident in his team this year, which should scare folks. Okay, another one. Why was Luke Rudolph not on the best 11? Well, because there's this guy, Luke Brodigan, at Messiah University as well, who Played the entire season. Absolutely stunning midfielder. All-American. He's a key piece of their offensive output. 7 goals, 4 assists. Um, and actually with Luke Rudolph, and Luke B, you could argue it's, especially the way Messiah play in my book, it could be the best midfield tandem in Division III soccer. And again, look, I don't think I met him. I met a couple of the Messiah players at a camp, and I have to say, if he's like anything like these players, I mean, these are outstanding young men, and shining examples of what you hope your kids turn out to be if they play soccer. So, okay, another one. I was a huge fan last year, and I'll say I thought the games that I watched, I thought he was more impactful, and was better than Herman Giamatti, the Division III, 2-time Division III National Player of the Year, who's now at Maryland. Apparently, I should have checked, but I think that's where he ended up, and I think he's on the squad, but I'm not too sure. Anyhow, I think he brings a creativity and a flair to the game for Amherst that, in a style that, again, I'm just not particularly a fan of. But I do think he is a tremendous ball player, and I think Amherst is going to need him again to fill in where Giamatti is sort of left in that hole. But Amherst is going to reload, and so they're still going to be good. But I just think they're going to need Sabanda to really step up this time, and I think he's capable of it. Okay, and now why is Gerardo Martinez not on the best 11? Because the best outside right back in Division III soccer, and I can't say, but I gotta believe he's probably one of the best of best in a long time in that position, is Luke Mother of Kenyan College. Like I said, I think he's the best. Definitely, currently, he's the best right back in Division III soccer. On the attack, he is capable of leading a ferocious, quick attack against an opponent. I think just because of his speed and his ability and his smarts on defensively, he's hard to beat, if not impossible. And he's again a first team All-American. So just a tremendous ball player. And actually, if you remember, he was only the only time I ever saw him not play to what I thought his ability was because of the talents of Ethan Miracle, who's a player to watch, right, from Denison University in the NCAC final that Denison won 1-0. Ethan dropped back and covered him, and I thought, it was probably the one game that I'm sure Luke would want back. And do it and have a redo. But I think this kid has so much of the potential. I didn't think he was coming back until I actually probed and got a email from someone who said he's back, and then sure enough, so he's coming back as a super senior. So I totally expect this guy to light it up. And again, if you're playing against them and you're not mindful of what he's capable of, he is going to burn you up. So best of luck for that. Okay. And why is Griffin Wada not on? Oh, I'm sorry. This is a different one. Okay. This Will Isaac Otterbein. Sorry, I sort of got out of line here, out of order. Will Isaac at Otterbein. Otterbein, great team, very successful in large part because of what he does on the forward line for Otterbein. An outstanding forward. I think major piece of the puzzle for Otterbein. Second team All-American. Had 11 goals and 11 assists. I mean, that's tremendous. Both sides, whether it's scoring or, feeding the ball. I mean, he's got it all. And again, Otterbein's success and how far they come, and can they knock John Carroll off their perch, is going to come down to a guy like Will Isaac and sort of how he performs in those critical games, which, again, he's got the talent and shown it. So, all right. Yep. Okay, so here we are. Griffin. Why is Griffin Wada not on the best 11? Well, because I thought Richard Gillespie is it was the choice. D3 soccer, defender of the year, first team All-American, all region, blah, blah, blah. He is just a fantastic ball player. And partnering with Griffin Wada, like I said, I just think University of Chicago's defensive backline centrally are probably the best in the country. And I think that could propel Chicago into sort of back to the Final Four. And we'll talk about that. Anyhow, I also think he's a great distributor. I mean, one of the things about Chicago that I like is that by and large, these guys are like smart, intelligent ball players that move the ball and make the right choices at the right times of how the ball moves, and really a critical component of getting the ball into the feet of their midfield. So really a big fan, like I am of, I think if I get the order right. Next up, best 11, Lorenz Hoover. I'm going to say I think Denison is a team on the rise, and I think they're a lot closer than they probably realize, especially based on how they did last year and how they started off. Coach Bianco and I talked about it. Like that first game that I watched them play against Mount Union, where they lost, I just thought, Denison isn't all that. But then over the season, how much better they got, and ultimately winning the NCAC. And I think largely on the shoulders of Hoover, who is sort of the backbone of Denison. Like he is the leader on the field. The ball goes through him. He has the capability of sort of turning the game to Denison's favor, just sheer will. And so I think things come together the way I think Coach Bianco's got them going, and with the likes of Eat the Miracle, like Denison could be a force to reckon with in the tournament. So be very mindful. And I think this is a guy, again, I think it's from me watching, I just think it's I like the fact that he shoulders so much responsibility for the team. So, and he's perfectly capable of it. So, okay. Next up is a powerful midfield freshman who I just couldn't be more impressed with is Ian Wamond of Johns Hopkins University. Very talented team already. And came out onto the scene really, I think, surprised a lot of people. Centennial Conference Rookie of the Year. He's a wunderkind, right? Like Ian Wunderkind Wamond. Like I just think he's a fantastic ball player. He has the ability, the ball skill, and the vision to really cement the way Johns Hopkins, under Coach Craig Appleby, really enjoy to play, possession-based, and sort of looking for those open spaces and guys running in, and it really he fits that mold. And I do think like he could lead them to take, again, they graduated some guys and just need to be very aware of that, but it could easily be, take the conference, Centennial Conference from Washington, and could easily make a deep run in the tournament, and guys like Ian are going to need to really step up to make that happen. Now, I'll just say lastly, kids from Connecticut, right? And so, that's deep in the heart of NESCAC, and how he didn't end up on one of the top NESCAC teams is beyond me. It must have been a choice of his to go to Hopkins, but oh my gosh, why he's not, why Connecticut or Tufts or whomever didn't snag him up since he was in their backyard. I have no idea, but anyhow. Okay, lastly, and I've been a fan of his, again, another freshman who sort of came on the scene and really hit it home this year is Olaf and Tade. Again, names are terrible. So Ollie, tremendous freshman year as a forward for Calvin. Has pace. He was a second-team All-American as freshman. It was just pretty remarkable. He has the ability to really, turn the tide on a game just by his ability. He's great, got great pace, great ability with the ball. Is a handful to deal with, and has an intelligence that I really think helps Calvin. And I think Calvin's success this year, and can they move up in the top 20, is going to be largely dependent on Oliver having another banger. Can he have more than 10 goals and 8 assists, which is remarkable in its own right? But can he increase that production in games that matter? All right. So that's it. That's the best 11, actually best 17, but who's counting, and our players to watch, and the Simple Coach players to watch. And like I said, you want to make teams and you want to quibble, that's fine. These are all fantastic ball players, and categorizing as who's better than who, it's just really difficult and something I don't necessarily like. So you could just assume these are the best players to watch, both categories, but I will enjoy watching them. So I am gonna transition to something that I hadn't planned. So in the first bits, the intro, I didn't really talk about it. And I'm actually going to pick the teams that I think are going to be the Final Four. So, let's move to that. So now that we did the players to watch, went through the best 11, I throw in a bonus. And it's something I hadn't planned on doing. I don't know why, especially since it's the preseason. Well, I'm hoping this is the day before. This comes out Monday or Tuesday, but Thursday is September 1st. So, I don't know why I didn't think about it, because I thought it was a really good idea. But, at the encouragement of my chief strategy officer, during an executive leadership team meeting, Simple Player number 2 suggested I should pick the winner, who I think the winner is going to be. And we got to talking, and we thought, I thought, that's too, I don't know, not enough. And then we started talking, and it's like, you should pick the Final Four. So I was like, I like that more. So, again, finally, the chief executive officer, Jackie, weighed in, and she agreed. She thought it was a really good idea. So I came up with who I think are going to be in the Final Four and who's going to win it based on that Final Four. But again, I, simple coach sometimes doesn't do simple things. So I actually did it a little differently. And I made 3 Final Fours. And it's musical this time, so which is pretty cool. I got some tunes. Totally gonna wreck my relationship with YouTube. Let's be clear. They're not gonna like this and copyright and all that stuff. But you know what? Who gives a hoot? It's a 2022 season. Like, hey, let's celebrate. So there's some musical component to this, and I just hope I don't sort of gob it up. But so, all right. So like I said, there's three Final Fours, and you choose the one you like, and so let's move to it. Again, there's a little bit of music and sort of going around, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I move this stuff. So let's get this rolling. So my first Final Four, I call actually the Shocker Final Four, and I thought, okay, what would be appropriate for that? I think I would call it. I just decided for some reason that we would call this the Peter Gabriel Final Four. Okay. Yeah. So, if you don't know what that tune is, you can't hear it because it's sort of not. That is "Shock the Monkey" by Peter Gabriel. So this is the Final Four. This is the Final Four of that I think are going to shock our. That could shock us. Like if this were the Final Four, I think it would be perfectly legit. But I do think they would be a little bit of a shock. Like, wow, these teams, I don't want to say came out of nowhere because they're pretty much all ranked. But so yeah. So let's get this set up. Okay. So first in that group. In the Shocker Final Four and the Peter Gabriel Final Four is Cortland State University. So SUNY Cortland under Coach Steve Axtell. Now, they're already, I think they ended up ranked 10th, 15th, I can't remember. But I know their recruiting class includes at least one player who is a man-child, like is a transfer in from a Division I school, and I mean, by all indications, the guy is, I mean, he could be, he could really be a key component in their success. So I could totally see them making the Final Four this year, based on already the talent they have. Again, I sort of like Steve Axtell and the discipline that they have with the team and how they play. And so I think these might be one of the Shocker teams. Next up, it's like, because I keep trying to look west, what teams are out there that could make the Final Four. And I think Trinity University is poised with that. Michael Meese, if he has this banger of a sophomore year, they're going to definitely go far in the NCAAs. And I think they could make the Final Four. And again, I don't know the brackets and who's going to play who, so this might be, just so you know, these Final Fours might be not possible because they're going to face each other during previous, but assuming that they don't, and this is how I got it. Another shocker, and I just say on the backs of a stellar goalkeeper, Middlebury College. I think they could make some waves and shock some folks along the way. And then finally, another one that I think is on the up and up that could shock a bunch of folks is Christopher Newport University. Not the women's team playing in the men's category. No, the men's team in its own right is a legitimate team and could shock a few. So, yeah, so I think if you took a look at these guys, of the four, if all four made the final four, who would win it? My money would go on Trinity University in Texas. Like, I think they're that good, that capable, and if this were the final four, I think that's who would end up taking it, just on the power of their offensive strength and their and sort of how they play. So, okay, so that's the shocker group final four. So let me. Again, I got a lot of moving parts here. It just, my production crew, went on strike because I'm not paying them enough. So let me move this forward. All right, so that leads to the next up final four, which I call the outside bet final four, or the Kenny Rogers final four, right? Another classic tune. With the gambler. This is one of those tunes that if your young ones don't know about, like you gotta get them to learn the song. So I mean, it's one of the all-time classics. All right, so these are teams that if you were a betting man and you put money down and you wanted sort of like wouldn't surprise at all to be there, and so you could, on a bet you could do pretty well for yourself, but because they have the talent, they have the soccer, they have the coaches, and I think in this particular group has the desire and the experience to go the distance, and I think ultimately some of that will do it, and I think it's largely because it's been so close for so long that they're just sort of at that point where they want to really, get back to that final four. So, all right. So first up is Ohio Wesleyan under Jay Martin, Christian Gomez, Yager Brooker. We talked about those. Again, they just reload every year, and I think, and they're the standard for a lot of teams. And I think if things go well and they sort of tune some things and they actually go through, like, they could legitimately make it to the final four. Following that, which probably this doesn't surprise people, but if you look at it, like last year they just didn't seem to have it going. But Messiah University has all of the talent, all of the ability, all of those things, intangibles, and they have a chip on their shoulder, I think, from last year to make it to the Final Four. And I think they legitimately have that chance. I'm going to be looking at North Park University in this outside bet Final Four to make it. I think they got the talent. They looked super good last year. Question is, can they make it happen? So I know they graduated a few that I think might change their dynamic a little bit, but again, they've been a quality team all along and are just have been close enough, and I just think there's got to be at some point where they just break through the threshold. And then lastly, another one of my favorites, St. Olaf College. Victor Gallman, Hakeem Morgan, leading the team. And I think they're close, and I think they have that ability to make it to the Final Four as an outside bet. So, and then of this group, hang on, before we ruin the surprise, let me tune that. Of this group, who wins it? I am going with Ohio Wesleyan. I think from a defensive standpoint, I think they can match up against most anybody. Could stifle somebody like Messiah, can stifle somebody like North Park, and probably stop St. Olaf. But they have an attack that could cause the damage on the back end. So I would give it to Ohio Wesleyan in this instance. But so that was the outside bet, the Kenny Rogers bracket, however you want to call it. And so let's move on to the final one. And this is what I call the logical Final Four. And it's just because I sort of looked at it dispassionately. And that immediately made me start humming this song by Supertramp, the logical song. They sent me away to teach me to be sensible, logical, responsible, practical. So these are the ones who I thought, based on last year, and there might be a little bit of a surprise, but this could totally legitimately be who I think makes it to the Final Four this year. So let's move. So first up in that lineup, I'm just going to give it right there, Washington and Lee University, who I think is just an outstanding team. Just incredibly well coached. I think they were close last year, so very close, and I think that is going to be a motivation for them this year, and I think they're going to be rewarded with another trip to the Final Four. University of Chicago. Defense wins championships, and you could argue they have the best defensive posture in Division III soccer, and I think they have the capabilities, and really could drive to the Final Four again. No doubt. I don't think it's going to be necessarily easy for anybody, obviously, but I think they could have a repeat performance. Kenyan College, I think, breaks through this year. I really do. I think the maturity, the return of Luke Mother and some others, and I think they really could have, and I think, again, chip on their shoulder, they're going to make a comeback. And so I definitely think that these guys are gonna take that bold step forward and make it to the Final Four. And then lastly, not sure this is logical. You just have to give a return ticket to Amherst College. I just think they are, again, not a fan of how they play, but they're so good at it, and it makes it so difficult for everybody else that I just think that they're sort of geared. It's like, reminds me of Real Madrid. Real Madrid is not a team so much for the league or for the King's Cup or for whatever. They're designed to win the Champions League. And I almost think that Amherst College is that type of team, that they are geared to play and compete for a national title. And I think this year is the year, again, that they return, just because that's the way they're designed, to get back to the dance. And, at some point they win it. But if I were, again, a betting man, I'm gonna go with the winners being Washington and Lee University, the Generals. And I just think they have a lot of quality in their game that I think, and again, chip on their shoulder for coming to the semis and then just losing out on a tremendous goal. But I just think, like, they are there, and I think they taste it, and I think a lot of the work that they've done is with that in mind. So, let me turn that off. Hopefully you heard me through all this, through the tunes. But so that's the that would be the logical Final Four in my book, based on sort of what I know. And you're probably saying, like, well, logically, why isn't Connecticut College? Perfectly legitimate to pick the reigning champion to win, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. I think the challenges are they got a target on their back now. Everybody knows them. Number two, I think there was some instances in the tournament, right? Like where the ball bounced their way legitimately, and I think that's fair. And I think that needs to happen with any of the three Final Fours that I picked. Whoever the winner I picked, whether it's Washington, Lee, Ohio University, or Trinity, I do think like they're going to need talent. They're going to need goals. They're going to need soccer. They're going to need luck. Right? I mean, that's just the nature of the dance. So that's it. So those are the Final Fours. You pick and choose which one you think makes the most sense, or feel free to comment below if you like it or not. And hopefully, this is what we're gearing up for, folks. This is what we're gearing up for in the next day or so, and I'm super excited for it. And yeah, I jumped ahead to the finals, but we got games to play, including, I mentioned before, the Washington and Lee University versus Messiah University at Washington and Lee. It's gonna maybe I'll see if I can't put the link, but it's gonna be live streamed 7 p.m. on the 1st, and you should definitely be watching. Like I will definitely be doing notes and. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this show. Like I put a lot of thought into it, and really, again, some of this, quite frankly, I'm always impressed by all the athletes at every level, but I try to do my best to give recognition to some of these guys, and so the obvious ones are picking the players that I think really have an impact on the game. So we went through the players to watch, who I think are all, again, stellar players, and wish them all the best. And then we did the best 11 plus a few more, who are, just remarkable ball players. And I don't think I can say that enough and give enough superlatives to show that. And I just would encourage anybody to watch a few of their games, and take a look at those guys and how special they really are, which is remarkable. And if you get a chance to meet some of them, you can't help but be impressed. I've met a number of ball players, whether it's been in the interviews or, in these various, camps that Simple Player number 2 has been, going to, that, these guys are, remarkable individuals that shoulder quite a bit, right? They shoulder the playing, they shoulder the being a student and trying to be just a regular 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, So just remarkable, and obviously on all of them, all the players, I just wish them the best. And, before I wrap up, I did want to say I was going to do something complicated, and I let cooler heads, the better angels of my nature prevail, and I decided to just sort of talk instead of doing what I had planned. I wanted to basically get a list of everyone I talked to and sort of say, hey, best of luck. But I just want to say, for all the coaches out there, those who did and those who didn't participate in the simple coach-to-coach interviews, the players who I interviewed, and then all those players that I've watched and get such a thrill watching during the season, and then all of you guys out there who've been so supportive and have encouraged me on, whether you're on the boards or you shot me emails and just watched, really do appreciate it. And I wish you all of the best in this 2022 season. I think you're the ones who make it, and I think you're the ones who make this fun for me, right? the coaches who have such great minds for the game really charge me up, because you think, there's all these debates about, the future of American soccer and all this stuff. And I talk to these guys and I'm like, yeah, we're in a good spot. When it's not just these, the more famous coaches that you think are the ones who know something, and then you talk to some of these guys who are super capable coaches in their own right, and you realize, yeah, you know what, we're getting there, right? And I think it's largely these coaches who are driving it, and again, the players who are so talented. It's so much better than our the days that we played in the 80s, which were mud slugfests, and it's great to see that soccer is sort of becoming much more about the game and less about the how hard can I beat you to a pulp to win. As a separate shout out, I just want to give a shout out to the MHS Cougars, who are who I have the great distinct pleasure and honor of being an assistant coach for. We're gearing up. We just finished getting through our preseason, and I think we have a scrimmage tomorrow, and really, really excited for these guys, and really psyched. I know it's high school soccer, but really, really pumped for them, and hoping we have regardless, we're going to have a great season. They're all outstanding individuals. So looking forward to that. Some of these guys talk to me every day about Simple Coach. So let's, I'm going to put that on them. They're going to be my marketing team. Intern marketing team. And then, for all of you, again, I'm just going to say have a wonderful season. Watch as many games. Just so you know, I'm going to be doing, obviously, whatever content I come up with. I'm not sure about live streaming yet. It's just really hard for me to do by myself, because it kind of feels weird. But I'll leave it at that. But definitely games that I watch. I don't know if I'll do the volume that I've done before. I will post my notes on d3soccer.com boards, and then I'll probably in the community tab, wherever that ends up being on the page on the channel, I'll post links out to my notes, and yeah, I just try to be honest what I see, and it's not trying to be not personal, critical. Just sort of what I see, and the good, the bad, the ugly. I look at it all and I comment on it as I see it. So, and then, yeah, enjoy. I keep reminding. I've said in one interview that I thought that this was the first normal season that I've had in ages, and it feels like we're back on track, God willing, and COVID's behind us, so enjoy it. Don't forget, like, this stuff can be taken away so easily, and just enjoy. Players, fans, coaches, enjoy the moment, because it is wonderful, and I definitely know I will. And so with that, Thanks for joining this 2022 preseason best. And if you have any thoughts, comments, by all means, do all the below. And if you can do me a favor, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And as my chief marketing officer says, simple player number 3, smash the like button, smash the bell, hit the bell, click the bell, whatever it is. All of that stuff would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.